In this video, we'll cover what exactly is a VFX round trip and why it's important, who does the VFX round trip, go through technical specifications, and finish up with an example and a few common issues to watch out for. So what is a VFX round trip and why is it important? A VFX round trip is a test run of the process of pulling VFX shots, running them through the VFX vendor's pipeline, and delivering them back. This ensures VFX production workflows meet the color, editorial, and imaging specifications and expectations. It will ensure the highest image quality is maintained and help avoid unnecessary back and forth between post-production teams, which can lead to delivery delays and overages. Completing the round-trip process early is a simple way to test the flow of VFX shots from editorial through the post facility, VFX vendor, finishing post facility, and back to editorial. Round trips establish the image pipeline for a show, so stakeholders can ensure the material is handled correctly by everyone. This helps approve and lock in the pipeline and address any questions or concerns before the bulk of creative work starts. A lot is covered in a VFX round trip. It is crucial that all relevant specifications and requirements are documented and saved well before post-production begins. It is especially important to keep track of the errors and solutions you come across during the test to avoid making them again when the VFX work starts. Having a clear plan and a team that is in agreement of what's expected helps everyone perform their part correctly, saving time and money. Post-production will start from a stable foundation and avoid potential problems down the line by preparing everyone involved in processes such as framing, resolution, naming, frame count, and color management. Imagine realizing that the pole's color space was incorrect after the first couple of VFX shots have been completed. The pole's facility will need to urgently re-provide new poles, and in some cases, the work of the VFX vendor may need to be redone from scratch. Other issues such as corrupt or lost frames or slates or wrong burn-ins in your VFX shots may also be missed, and the work would need to be done twice, delaying the delivery and incurring overages. Let's take a look at some of the practical advantages of performing a VFX round trip. Errors in scaling or color are found early. There's alignment between all stakeholders, there's trust in the process, and communication is clearer for everyone. So, who does the VFX round trip? A VFX round trip is a test of technical execution and communication between the key post-production departments. The process includes production editorial, who are tasked with requesting the VFX shot pull, the post facility, which is often the same as the finishing facility, who packages up the shot including all color files and metadata. Of course, it includes the VFX vendor, who is responsible for ingesting the pull into their compositing software and exporting it as outlined by the production. Lastly, the finishing or onlining facility, who confirms along with production editorial that the round-trip content from the VFX vendor are as expected, by comparing the results against the references provided and making sure they match. Now, let's dive into an example of a VFX round trip. Here's a bird's eye view of the VFX delivery pipeline for a production. The round trip test mimics this flow. The test paves the way for the final VFX plates to follow. It is important to use footage, framing charts, and color files created specifically for your show. We don't recommend using temporary or stock footage, as you would not be recreating the exact process followed by the final plates. Let's have a closer look. First, editorial requests a pull for VFX. The editorial team standardizes the naming conventions, frame and handle count, and proxy codec based on the technical specifications. They will send an EDL with frame information and metadata to the post facility. Editorial will also create reference media with the dailies color applied, such as still frame or a clip for the VFX facility. Next, the post facility creates, or pulls, the requested files with the agreed-upon naming convention. They create EXR or DPX frames and color files per clip and pass them along with the framing chart and reference media. This is all based on the specifications decided by the production and imaging teams. Then, the VFX facility receives all the files and sets up their ingest and delivery pipelines for the test. The pipeline should process everything from color and framing to slates and burn-ins. No VFX work is expected at this point, only ingest, configuration, and export. Let's zoom in on framing. Based on the charts shot by the production, the Pulse facility extracts and scales the pulled frames to a common working resolution prior to delivery to the VFX vendor. This is different per camera format. Typically, a round trip should be performed with every format, but in the case that is not possible, it should at least be performed based on the primary capture camera. The Pulse facility should deliver all necessary framing charts to the VFX vendor. They will reference these charts along with the production specifications to verify correctness. The VFX vendor will then set up the color pipeline based on the production specifications. This will typically look like ASUS AP0 EXRs, converted to the log grading space, with any CDLs or look files as necessary to bake the color into the proxy movies. And lastly, apply the output transform commonly known as the show LUT. The VFX vendor, production editorial, and finishing facility will then compare the output from VFX pipeline versus the reference. This reference would typically be the dailies clips created for and used by editorial. There should be a 1-to-1 match in color and framing for the results of the test to be considered correct. The proxy movies created by the VFX vendor should include both slate and frame burn-ins according to the tech specs and visual reference templates. A slate should also be included in the EXR sequence. It should be encoded in the proper color space, resolution, and framing. Burn-ins should match the placement of the reference clip using fixed size fonts for frame counts so the placement stays consistent. Once the VFX vendor is satisfied with their pipeline and setup, the files are returned to production. Final files, EXRs or DPXs, with no LUT or burn-ins, will be sent to the finishing facility. Proxies, MOV files, with LUTs and burn-ins, will be sent to editorial. Both should contain the first frame of slate. If the files match and are deemed satisfactory by everyone, the round trip is complete. To recap, some common issues to look out for during a round trip test are missing frames or incorrect duration, naming and slate inconsistencies, mismatch in color, and mismatch in framing. If you spot any discrepancies during your production's round trip, communicate them back to the teams involved so they can be corrected, and then rerun the VFX round trip with the fixes. Remember, this is a test, not a final delivery. More video resources can be found on our YouTube channel. We also welcome you to visit the Netflix Partner Help Center to access a wide selection of guidance and best practices.